Okay, we're going to continue our study on what the Bible says, who we are. We're going through these scriptures, and I'm using the English version to start with, and then I will translate into the Amplified. And if I remember correctly, we started at didn't get to 2 Corinthians 5:21. And that's where I would like to start today. As soon as I find it. There we go. 5:21. Praise God. Now this is the English version. For our sake, he made him to be sin who knew no sin. Plural. He. Who's the he?
God the Father.
Jehovah God. That's right. And who did he make sin?
Jesus.
Jesus, his son. Why?
For our redemption.
He had to.
Right.
Right? He was the coin of the realm. He was an energy being. His blood was energy. The most precious commodity that's ever been on this reality we call the three-dimensional world was the blood of Jehovah God, who is and always will be Jesus. And that was the only commodity, the only energy entity that could pay the price for the sins from Adam to the last person that's born of a woman. Covers it all. It doesn't matter if you're born again or not, Jesus took your sins to the cross. Now, if you don't believe that, then you ain't going to receive it. Even though he did. Hitler took all of it. Mussolini took all of it. Idi Amin took all of it. Baby rapers, child molesters, crazy people, bank robbers, doesn't matter. He's taken all. Kol, K-O-L-E, is Hebrew for everything. All their sins. And he paid for them on the cross. But, I want you guys to remember this. If you don't believe it, it is up to you. I can sit a sack full of money in front of you, Paul, and if you don't believe that money's there, it has zero value to you. And that's the way it works. When the white people in Columbus, or before Columbus, when they got to the South Americas and they pulled up, and the shamans, the Indian medicine men, they met them and they'd never seen a white man before, and they said, how did you get here? And they said, well, a big wooden boat with all the sails was sitting right there in the harbor, and the shaman had never seen a boat like that with the big sails and a white man's boat, so he didn't see it. He had no reference. He said, what boat? What sailing ship? And then the white guy started talking to him and explaining to him, and he finally started seeing the image of the ship. And he said, oh, and simultaneously in the village, guess what all the people saw? In their imagination? The ship. Because of the energy waves coming off the shaman. Went into the people. Because he had that kind of authority with the people. The people believed what the shaman thought. They knew about this stuff way back then. They knew about this stuff 12,000 years ago. And now we're just coming back into the fruition of this stuff. That this is energy. And we're all energy-based creatures. And they were practicing this. The American Indians and the South American, the Mayan and the Egyptians and all those people, they know right now, they don't know how old the Sphinx is. They think it's 20-something million years old. They don't know. You know, it's older than the pyramids, the big ones in Giza. But they were doing this back then. And we're just coming back to fruition. See, as white people and in the Western civilization, instead of doing it ourselves, we did what? We invented technology to do what they were doing through their minds. That's why we invented this and invented that and invented this and invented that. What did Jesus do? What tools did Jesus use when he walked this earth? Nothing. He used what? words, thoughts, emotions, feelings. Guess what? Paul, are you made in God's image? Phil, are you made in God's image?
Yes.
You're identical to Jesus, right?
That's right.
As a born-again person, not...
Lost.
Right.
What do you say?
So you've got the same understanding that Jesus had, because we've got his word in front of us, even though he was living the Old Testament back then and writing the New Testament. Every power that he had, every tool that he was given from the Father to his Son, and they're both the same people. God is God, God was Jesus, Jesus is God. There is a separation, but there's no separation when it comes to the Spirit. So, when Jesus took that pure godness and set it up there and said, I'm going to be a man. I'm going to come down here, I'm going to live 33 years, and I'm going to show the people what a man can do with the understanding of who he is and what he has. And that's who we are. So, are we living the same life that Jesus lived? I don't know anybody is. So we're falling short of what we can have. Right? There have been case histories of people walking on water. There have been case histories of people raising the dead. I have kind of raised a person from the dead, and I will go into that later. But I have laid hands on sick people for the last, I don't know, what, 15 years, Ed, 20 years? You've been there all along. And all of them got recovered that wanted to believe. And the ones that didn't believe, didn't. Is it about me? No. It's about them. You have the same power that we all have. We all have the same power. That's part of the born-again experience. That's why Jesus did all this stuff. He had to buy back what Adam let go of, because Adam wanted to be God of his world. See that? And we do that same thing every time that a problem, a so-called problem, rises in our lives. We want to know why. Did you know what God said about judgment? Does anybody know what God said about judgment?
You said don't do it.
Judge lest you be judged.
Thank you. He said don't judge. Why? Because judgment means what?
You make judgment on yourself.
That's right. It's a mirror. And all judgment is, what are you doing? You're placing self in the equation. Am I as good as Paul? Judgment. Am I as smart as Ed? Judgment. Right? Well, Jim can fly an airplane much better than I. Does that make him better than me? Judgment. We're all doing it if we don't understand not to do it. Did Adam judge? Was that part of his sin?
That was part of the sin.
He judged himself with lack, didn't he?
You're getting ahead of me. Adam judged. He said, I don't want to be judge of what? What's right and wrong? What's life and death? I, me, myself, I. Where's God in I? Yeah. I want to be the judge of that. I want to make the decisions. I'll come to you, God, when I'm confused, but let me have the first shot. That's why he blamed Eve for the problem. No. God, wasn't me. It was her. It was my wife. Where did that come from? The ego. Ego is here to justify you're always right. That's the self. And even if you're wrong, the ego's going to find a way to justify your answer or your action that was right. And you see it every day. And that's part of what Adam gave away. So don't judge, ever. Do not judge. That's why we don't look at things and put a value on them. It's all the same thing. We have control over what? Cold. All. One deal isn't better than the other. They're all deals. And if we're children of the light, and the light's in me and I'm in the light, then that deal is designed by God before he said light be to be the best thing I can put my hands to, because we're creatures of the light. We're light beings. That's what we are. That's what it says here in God's Word. Right here. Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own. That's why we don't judge, because we don't care about that, because the judgment is just saying who's got the most lack. Fear is an emotion. God has given us the emotion of fear and the emotion of love. Everybody has it. That's the emotions. Everything springs from those two emotions. If it's in fear, then it's lack. And you can put lack on whatever you, oh, I'm mad at you. Well, then why? That's a lack of what? Love. So, that's fear. Well, I got to make more money than you because you got more money than me. So I'm judging you against myself, but, you know, that's fear of what? Lack of money. It's fear. Well, you know, everything I've done up to now has turned to shit. So I don't know. I need help making this deal work. What's that? Fear. That you have what? Lack. You've lost your niche. You've lost the opportunity. You've lost this. Because if I don't do this right, I've lost it. What is that? Fear. Fear of what? Lack of business. God said, don't do that. He said, you're a child of what? Love. And that love that Jesus used to walk this earth with is a facet of love, and it was called compassion. Compassionate love is what Jesus used to heal the sick, raise the dead, feed the 20,000 people, walk on water, translate from one position to the other outside of time. That's what he used, compassion of love. So, instead of judging people like the world kingdom says, we what? We send them love. Because we're children of the light. I'm a light child. That light is partly love. And that love is defined as compassionate love. So we beam love to everybody. I don't care who they are. It could be your worst enemy. What did God say about your enemy? What you were supposed to do?
Love your enemy.
That's right. Feed them. Give them a drink. Love them. Why? Because what you send out, what are you going to get back? Love. And it's going to be more than enough, because God is more than enough God. It's in abundance. That's why he gave you the parable of the sower. That's when he fed the 20,000 people with a few fish and a couple of pieces of bread. He's showing us this is the way it works. And his dumbass disciples couldn't figure it out in the boat. That's why he got, you know, upset. He wasn't judging them. He was just speaking what they told him. Look, you guys are with me all the time. Don't you see all this? Doesn't it ring true that you can do this too? Well, no, God, you're just supernatural. Well, there ain't nothing that's supernatural. It's just natural. There is no super, because we walk as God, and there's nothing that God cannot, will not, has not done. And that's the same thing for us, if you believe. And there's the key. See that? Anybody got any questions? This is heavy duty stuff, but I want this to get out so you guys can chew on it. For our sake, he made him to be sin who knew no sin. So, we took God, made him Jesus, he took the sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. And that's why he did it. What is righteousness?
As it should be in the garden before the fall.
Hallelujah. When Adam was in the garden before the fall, he was in right standing, but that's just something that the Bible has been translated into, which is the wrong translation, by the way. It is right standing. That's what it means. We're in right standing. We're standing as we are, and God is beside us. Right standing in the garden. So anything that we wanted, that we felt like we needed at that time, we had the authority to believe we have received it.
Does it say might be because of the stipulation of our part is to believe, right?
Yeah. It's already there. God has created every reality that you can choose to live in. It don't matter what it is.
It's not a place of withholding for some from others, because some might argue that verse to say only those that are righteous or behaving or whatever or do good had received. And those that choose or do not do well, it's for everyone.
Did Jesus die for everybody? Did his blood take the sins of the world?
Yeah.
Born again or not? Jesus uses the same blueprint.
Right.
Always. It's always going to be the same way. So yeah, the might is because of what you decide. Because Adam was God of this world, because Jesus and God and all of them, the triune being, the Father said, you are gods of this world. And Jesus has said, well, if I'm God, then I get to choose right from wrong. I get to choose. I get to choose. There's no God in that. See? And he's comparing. He's judging. And God said, don't do that. Because I don't do that. That's why Jesus went to the cross, so I don't have to judge you. There is no judgment until the white throne, and that's after the world's changed. But for us, born-again individuals, there is no judgment. We can never be judged. And guess what we do every day? There's 7 billion plus people on this earth, and I will just say 99% of them do what every day?
Judge. Yeah.
Judge. And who they're judging?
Themselves.
I'm not good enough. And it goes back to that lack of fear. It's a fear of lack. I don't lack that supernatural spirit in me that I am perfect in everything I do. Judgment. That's that original sin, part of it, and that's what Adam did, and that's what we do. And does that block you from believing who you really are and what you have? Absolutely. Because what are you going to believe? It's not unbelief. There's no such thing as unbelief. Everybody believes in something. It's called wavering. So if you believe, Paul, that you're not worthy, and it could go all the way back to when you were in your mama's womb. You're carrying all that. It's not cellular memory. It's energy waves that were put into you when you were being conceived in your mama's womb. Every emotion that your mother ever had, fear or love, is in you because you were tied to her with the umbilical cord. And the T cells that made you up, who you are, not all the T cells were in you when you were born. There were some of these T cells still in your mother, and they thought it went out with the afterbirth, the water, it's still in your mom. They never did leave. They were reincorporated. So, why do we call our moms? Why do we say mom's house instead of dad's? It's because of the T cell that's in the mom. We're connected physically with that T cell. That's what we always call mom. Or we have an affinity. Even if you don't like your mother, you still think about her. And you think about Mother's Day and Valentine's Day. Who's the first woman you ever loved? Even though she didn't deserve it, you loved your mom. We all did. My mother's probably the meanest person God ever made. And I still love her. Do I like her? No. I don't like what she does. She's killing my sister now. She's cuckoo. My little brother lives with her, you know, and so because she's 90 years old. I mean, but she hadn't changed. She's the same way. That's why my sister and I left her home. We didn't want to be chained to my mother. My mother always said, you know, your father, he didn't want kids. You're here because of me. And that conditional love I've given you, you got to give it back to me. But you've got to be unconditional for you, but it's conditional with me. Because you got to do this and this and this and that, and you got to think this and this and that, and you got to do this and this and that. And I was about 17. I said, the heck with this, I'm out of here. And my sister was 2 years younger than me. She was 60, and she says, I'm out of here. And my brother's 12 years younger than me, and he never did get it. He's back there with her because the tornado blew his house away, you know, when they had the big tornado in Oklahoma. And he's supporting my mother, even though my father's inheritance, and it's not social government. I mean, everything's paid for, and she gets 25 grand a year anyway. She's got no overhead, but my brother pays her. And that's between her and my mom. But the woman's still there, and she's still judging. But she's still my mom, and I was firstborn. Does that make a difference? Yes, it does. It's all connected. We're all connected. It's called the theory of chaos, and it's also the entanglement, which comes from the string theory. Entanglement means that through the energy, we're connected to everything God made. And that conduit of energy, we're connected. So we're connected to whatever reality you choose to live in. I'm connected to you, you're connected to me. I'm connected to every human being, every deal, every rock, everything God created. Now this is going woo, 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 but the scientists can prove this, but that's as far as I'm going with that. But yes, we are. That's why we can read energy patterns. Now, the only reason that we're in lack, mentally, physically, socially, financially, or spiritually, is because of what we have decided to believe. When Paul said, I don't have any money, guess what? You don't have any money. And you ain't never going to have any money until you stop saying it. What did Jesus say? Well, there's no world, so I guess I can't make one. There's no space. What's the difference in that? Phil, same difference. You started using your tools, Bill, because you were floundering selling billboards for a while. But you took that failure and said, no, that's not who I am. And you started doing what?
Making more money.
How?
By believing that. But also my relationship, I had a crappy 26-year marriage because I destroyed my wife over and over again. And then now I'm in a new marriage, it's amazing. And I'm treating that person totally different.
Because you wanted that first woman in your relationship to show you failure because that's who you believed you were, so you married a woman to do that.
Yeah.
And you did that same scenario for 27 years.
Yeah.
Because of you wanted it.
Exactly.
See, there's nobody's fault.
Yeah.
It's us.
I didn't know I was lovable, so I did stuff to prove that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we've all done it. You did the same thing. You got 2 beautiful children. And you love them with all your heart and soul and spirit. There is no limit to your love. Except there is, but we're not going to go there because it's always conditional because we're human beings. But when we switch and walk in the light, when we're the spirit being of who we are, there is no condition because it's all about Jesus, not about us. And until we understand that, and I'm really beating you guys up about this because nobody really does because you're still choosing to believe what you see and know what God's done. That's being, not doing. It's all about the line. It's already been done. Yes.
The other thing too, when Jesus performed miracles, the person who was lame for 38 years, he didn't say, damn, look at your legs. You've been that way 38 years, you can't walk, that stinks. No, he said, pick up your mat and walk. That's what he said.
And from the beginning.
Yeah.
See, he doesn't care about symptoms because they don't line up with the Word of God.
Yeah.
That's why he did that. And you're exactly right. But he always said, what? The end, healed. You are healed.
Your faith is making you.
That's it.
Not your doctrine, your good behavior.
No, because you've got to have harmony with God and self. And when you've got that harmony of God and self, that makes the connection. That makes it in phase. It's energy. It's harmony. It produces light. Light is energy. See that? So, you choose. And the only way that we can satisfy God is by how? Faith. And faith means I believe. And it doesn't have to be 1, 2, 3. It can be 6, 14, 22. It doesn't matter how he gets there. It's already there. I don't care how it gets there. I just want to be there. And that's what Jesus did. See, he thought the end from the beginning. He didn't need a formula to get there. He got there because he was there. He didn't make anything happen to get there. He was always there. And he believed it. So he was. But we want to break this down, left brain, Western society, to have a formula that we can say the right words at the right time and then God's going to do something. It don't work that way. God's already done everything. That's what caused Adam to leave the garden, because he wanted a formula. That's why Cain killed Abel, and they said he sent him out. Well, we want to know why. I don't care. I know God created everything, and Cain married a woman. Does it matter if it's his 14th cousin or his second cousin? Not to me, but if it does to you, that's fine. God will give you the answer, because the answer's already there. I'm talking Lloyd. I'm not talking you guys. I don't want to judge. I don't care. This is what I know. When I say something and I believe that I've already said it and I already know it's done, guess what happens?
It's done.
It's done. You guys have witnessed that, every one of you. Because I've prayed over every one of you in here. And did the healing take place? Absolutely. Why? Because God's already said it's done, and I was in harmony with God. All I did was project what God's already done, and it happened because it already happened. Believe. Not deceive. That's the basis of everything, guys. That's what this is saying right here. Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit? Within you. The Holy Spirit's within me. Is my body a temple? Was a temple. What was a temple during Jesus' time?
Place where God resided.
God was there. God is in me. God is in you. Are we in God? Yes. And is God in us? Yes. That is what? How can you be in two places simultaneously? Because we're not flesh and blood. That's part of us, but we're also photon energy waves. So there is no time or space in an energy wave. It is now. Is God now?
I am.
Now. God's always in the eternal now. Now, if you go back 10 years and you're there 10 years ago, is that the eternal now? It is back then. It's a now. Is God there? Absolutely. For future, 20 years. The eternal now. Is there an eternal now 20 years from now? Yes. Is God there? Eternal now? Yes. But God's always been there. The only reason we have time is an illusion for self. There is no such thing as time once you get from this.
So it never matters, because now is always, yeah.
Thank you.
Now is eternity.
Thank you. There is no time in now. That's why Phil said eternity. There is no time. There's no beginning. There's no end.
If that wasn't true, then Galatians 2:20 couldn't work.
That's right.
I was crucified with Christ Jesus.
It is no longer I who live, but he who lives in me.
So what about being, since we're up there in heaven right now,
Yep.
spiritually,
Yep.
we're supposed to look at things that are in heaven.
We are things that are in heaven.
Okay.
So you're
it's
trying to
in-
make a physical sense of looking to determine if it's true.
We know because we're in heaven. We're known. We know because we are known.
Because it's the eternal now in heaven all the time. There is no time, space, or matter in heaven. It's just now. There's no limits in heaven.
So from there, it's the same down here.
It should be. That's what righteousness means. Yes, we have the ability. The choice is ours by believing. Not by choosing, but believing. You know, we're not measuring ourselves against heaven, although we do that every day. And then we find lack in ourselves because we look around and I'm not walking in water and I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that, da-da-da-da-da. So I guess that doesn't make me righteous because of the conditions I put on myself to earn what God's already given me. Conditional what? Love. Wrong. And that is the part that we have to understand. Quit trying to put reality in the flesh on a spiritual being or happening or story or what else you want to call it. You can't. Because God is. Period. Are we is? Yes. Why?
Because we're in Him.
And He's in us. That's that covenant relationship that the Father is entered in with the Son. That's the new covenant. Love me above everything, and then love everybody else as you love yourself. And that's it. That's what we're supposed to do. Is God taking care of everything? Is Jesus taking care of everything?
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we have to do since Jesus has already taken everything? Be in harmony. Jesus first. Oh, thank you, Lord. That's more than a conqueror. Because you don't have to conquer anything. He's already done. We celebrate the end from the beginning. Before the war was fought, we're celebrating the end because it's done. And you can do that in everything you do in this life. Mentally, physically, socially, financially, and spiritually. That's your five senses. That's the information that you bring in into your soul. If that information doesn't line up with your spirit, God is now, then it's wrong. It's not true. It's a fact. But I want to judge what's right and wrong. You can. Go ahead. But you'll never live a limitless life. You'll always be limited by the kingdom of this world. Hallelujah. Spirit within you, who you have from God. Are you not your own? I'm me, but I also got God in me. And God and me are one. So is my body a temple? It could be considered that in the old covenant days. But today we don't call ourselves a temple. Because this body is what? Subject to what? Deterioration. God said it's going to go back to dirt. You got to have a body to live on this earth. But guess what? Do I have control over these 60 trillion cells in my body?
Yes.
Yes. Do I have control over anything that I put in this body? Yeah. Do I have control over the exercising that I do in this body? Yes. Do I have control? I have total control. I have total control. Even though God's in my spirit, my soul still has, in this three-dimensional realm, total control, if I want it to be. It's called wavering. I choose to be in harmony, spirit and soul. I become one. There is no flesh. There is no not flesh. It's all one thing. That's what Jesus was. Jesus is what? Solid matter because of his resurrected body, but he's limitless. Jesus is still 33 years old because he chose to be. That body that's in heaven right now is 33 years old, and it's in perfect working order. Every cell in that body is perfect. And if we're righteousness, as it should be in the garden before the fall, and that's what God said we are, I'm not saying this, I'm reading it to you, then guess what? I'm supposed to have the same physical, mental, social, economical, and spiritual functioning of a 33-year-old person. Because that's who Jesus was, and he's in me, and that's what I'm following, his light. And I'm de-aging every day. I'm getting closer to that 33 years. I'm going backwards. I'm not going forward. Even chronologically, I'm 68 years old. Physically, I'm on my way back to being 33 years old. In the physical condition of me, you guys can see that. I'm de-aging. But I've also taken some steps to put the things in this body that I'm supposed to be putting in it, instead of the stuff that I was told it's good for because it's full of crap. I'm doing that too. I'm in harmony. 1 + 1 = 1. And you guys can do it too, if you want. It's your choice. Or you can die and go to heaven. I choose to be 33 years old and walk this earth and show everybody what you can do when you walk limitless. Hallelujah. Let's see. John 15:5. I am the vine. Now when it says I am, who's he talking about?
Jesus.
Jesus. And God, and it's the triune being. Yes, everybody. He is the vine. You are the branches. Now, why is he using this metaphor?
Because life comes through the vine.
And people back then, goat hunters and vine people and dressers and cattle people, this is what they do every day. They did this every day. Now, we're in the 21st century. Do any of us do any of this? Of course not. We use technology. So, you've got to understand what he's talking about. What is the rhythm? What is the energy being produced by these words? And Paul's got it absolutely right. This is what he's talking about. But you give that to somebody in the 21st century out there on the street, they're going to think you're crazy.
Oh, this is good.
But I want you to understand the 21st century understanding of it, and I also want you to understand the Old Covenant representation. Right? You are the branches. Whoever abides or lives in me, and I in him, Jesus in me, I'm in him, that's what he's talking about, right? It is that bears much fruit. He, it is that bears much fruit. He, that is, bears much fruit. Who's he? Who else?
Us.
Thank you. It's plural. God in me, I'm in you. That's what he's saying right here. Whoever lives in me, and I in him, he, it is that bears much fruit. He, God, because he's already done it, but I'm there with him. It's the eternal now. We're talking about whom? Jesus and me. I'm in Jesus. We're producing what? Together. Much fruit. And what's that mean? Whatever I put my hands to does what?
Prospers.
Has to. Everything I have put my hands to prospers.
So you're putting your hands to something you already have.
That's it. That's, putting your hands to means to be in harmony.
Right.
That's what he's talking about.
Everything I had, have, or will.
It's all past tense. God's already created because of what Jesus has done. If you don't believe that, then you don't believe Jesus. Because he did it, so all we do is what? Follow the light. The light, L-I-G-H-T. It's his life, his light, his love. If you're in all three of those, guess what?
You're there.
The eternal now is now. And if you get outside of those three things, and you want to do this or you want to do that, guess what? I want to do this. Adam wanted to do that. Same thing. It doesn't change. It's always the same stuff, man. It's just put in a different hue so it confuses us. And then we say, the devil made me do it. And that's religion's scapegoat because no, he did it. It ain't got nothing to do with the devil. The devil's the guy that never had any authority anyway. That's why Adam commanded what? He brought in death. Adam did it. Satan didn't. Can't. Got no authority to do that. He's a servant. He's an angel. That's all he is. He's all he's ever been. Why do you think, what's his name? That old English guy? I can't think of his name. Smithgall. Not Smithgall, but Wigglesworth. Smith Wigglesworth. He was an English plumber.
What an analogy.
I know. One to the extreme, right? His wife worked for the Salvation Army, and she died, and he raised her up from the dead. She got mad at him the second time or the third time around. Said, quit! I ain't coming back. But he said, I love you. I don't care. It's better up there than it is down there. He couldn't read, he couldn't write, even though he was a plumber. But he could read the Bible. And he wasn't taught. And he came over here to do a bunch of preaching in the early 1900s and stuff. And he was known for raising people from the dead. That's why his in-laws would not let him go to another funeral. Because back then, they had a wake in the house and everybody viewed the cop. This is back 1800s, back in England. And he'd take that corpse and throw it up against the wall and beat on the chest and say, Jesus' name, you're healed. And they'd come back to life. And so they embarrassed his family so they wouldn't let him go. But this is the authority that he had that we had. He ain't no different. But in the 1800s, people didn't know about this crap. And he chased a guy down on a wagon by pulling two horses and said, look, you're going to die tomorrow. You better get born again today. And I'm going to show you how. He said, get out of here. Wagon turned over and killed him. He didn't go to heaven. So he comes to America, and they have these big, giant revivals in these open theaters with, before they had electricity, I think. Anyway, he was up there, and they brought him a mongoloid baby. And you ever prayed for a mongoloid child? It's great, it ain't fun. Via phone. And it doesn't matter what the child has. There ain't no difference in a toenail crack than it is in a heart condition. It's all the same thing. It's the absence of energy that God created everything with. It's no miracles. It's not any more this than it is that. It is. So when Smith Wigglesworth, they gave him that child, you know what he did? He drop kicked that child into the third row. Went kapoof. And everybody goes, oh my God, what did he do? When the guy caught the baby, guess what? Perfectly healed. But that's how Wigglesworth did it. I read every book I can get on him. But that's how he did it, so he could get a reaction from the children, from the people. He didn't even have to do that. He could have just said, here you go. But that's the authority we have. He was in bed one night, and he heard somebody wrestling around at the foot of his bed, so he lit his little lamp right there, and he looked and he said, oh, it's just you, Satan. And he went back, blew out the lamp, went back to sleep. He already knew Satan had no authority back then. He went to sleep on him, blew out the light. To me, it said, look, I don't need Jesus on this. I just blew out the light because he's in me. I don't need this showing me the way. You're nothing. And he's gone. We can do that. This was done in the 1800s. This is the 21st century. It ain't no different.
We can do it because it's already been done.
That's it. We're in line, in that lineage. See, when you become the king of England, it's because your great-great-great-grandfather was king, and he was king, and he was king, so it's a lineage. It's your right. What is our right? It's telling us right here. What is our right?
We definitely can.
We have it.
Yeah. We definitely have.
Because of our right.
Right.
Because of what Jesus has done. Do you believe in his death, burial, and resurrection? Why did he go through all that crap? Because of the compassionate love the Father has for mankind. And there's no exceptions. It doesn't matter how tall you are, how short you are, how fat you are. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. Unconditional love. That's what we have. It's there for us. It's not going to be put on us. We get to choose. It's like walking through that door. You get to choose every day on Wednesday afternoon before 12 o'clock. Thank you very much. That you guys walk through that door. It's your choice to listen to me with the Spirit working in me. It's your choice. Same thing. Hallelujah. Ha! Okay, let's do, oh, this is a good one right here. Romans. Everybody likes Romans. Paul wrote to the Romans, although Paul screwed up half the time, but that's another thing. Romans 12:2.
Oh, yeah.
Do not be conformed to this world. What does that mean, Paul Thomas? I'm picking on you because you don't ever show up but about 4 times a year. Not true. I love you with all my heart. You know that.
It means that we don't need to think in harmony with what the world is presenting us.
You don't become one with the world.
Right.
Because if you do, what have you done? You become one with limitation. That's the fear. That's the lack that we carry. That's that baggage that we've been talking about. And we all have it. But we can choose not to agree with it. Because it's an emotion, and God gave us the emotion of fear. He had to, or we couldn't have free will. You got to be able to choose, and that's part of it. So, when that fear comes on us, whatever it is, it don't matter what it is, it's going to be mentally, physically, socially, financially, or spiritually. And that's the 5 places it's going to be. And we got 5 senses, and that's the natural. Because in the spiritual sense, there is no lack. So you don't have to do anything with the spirit, because it is. It's already there. But the soul and the spirit can be one when we understand that there is no time in the soul, if we want to believe that. And we're coming along. We're getting better every day. You know, we're taking the practical application of this truth and taking it out into that real world and using those tools. And then guess what happens? It works. The deals come through. Success in selling makes more money, which is energy is money. It's just energy. We call it dollars, but it's not. It's energy. It's the same crap. It works that way all the time. Some of us was born into understanding that from our parents. The money part, that's why there's rich people out there that are going to hell. Because money is their God. But it's not. It's just energy. It's a tool. That's what we use. And God said you can have as much energy as you want. It's up to you. What do you believe? You want $10 million? You want $200 million? It's whatever you can believe. But no, the world says no, no. You know what your dad did for a living? You know what your mom, you know? How about your brother and sister? And uncle, so is worth $100 million, but look what he had to do to get it. Do you want that? That's the world system. That's what we face every day.
You know, Boy, this also says, the way this is written here, we're already opted in. So if you don't do anything, if you do not be conformed, do not be conformed. If you don't choose to not be conformed, if you just don't do anything, then you are conformed.
Yes.
In other words, you're there, and you have to opt out as a decision from you.
It's called unbelief.
Right.
And there's no such thing as unbelief. You believe in something.
Right.
See? Or I can choose not to believe that, but then what else are you going to believe? I'm going to believe the world system, not God.
And that's the broad path.
That's it. That's the lack. See, you're carrying that insufficiency with you. And it's called fear, and that's what it is, but it's a lack. And you believe it's a lack because you've given that lack the authority that you have to generate that lack in your life.
Well, the world's culture will tell you it's lack everywhere.
Absolutely.
TV, radio, wherever you go.
Right, because why? Generations.
That's what they believe.
Yes, but that's because they want that so they control you. It's a form of control.
Yeah.
That's why churches came in. That's what religion's for, is to control you. Jesus never had a religion. Jesus believed in the Father. See, it wasn't Baptist or the Lutheran or this or the Catholics or the Hindus or the Hoochis or whatever. It's not there. See, that's why our government from the last 60 or 50, 60 years has started to put in political correctness into the political system. It's been going on for a long time. Republican and Democrat. More Democrat, but it's still the same. And that political correctness is taking away the eternal now of God. See, it's taking, when you become a family unit, freedom's no longer there. You're not free to do anything. As a father, God first, family, then me. I'm not free to do whatever I want. And when you do that, and you don't understand that your freedom's no longer there, or the wife, or the children, when they understand, when they grow up a little bit, then if they want to recapture that freedom while in that family unit, what happens? Divorce. That's why Christians, so-called Christians, are getting just as many people divorced as there are people that don't believe in God. The same principle holds. It's all about energy. But that political correctness is there to destroy that love of the family, that one. Because see, the family's one. It's not a bunch of, excuse me, different parts. It's one. It's like you and God are one. Well, the family's supposed to be that way.
Well, political correctness will push you into the box of conforming, or as the dictionary says, configured is a...
Yeah, but it's saying I'm
Same
giving you
word.
freedom.
Right.
See,
Well,
if you believe in
give it
me,
up.
I'm giving you freedom.
Right.
Is that what Adam did? Absolutely. Same crap. That's why we can't be subject to the kingdom of this world, because that's what's happening. It's all to take God out of you, but not all the way out. They'll let you go to heaven, but they're going to choose how you get there and how you get there. You'll either be from lack or fear or whatever. And that's what religion does, and that's what the political parties do.
That's the big oops. After you're dead, it's like oops.
Yep. That's why Jesus wasn't a religious man, and nor I, because I don't buy into that. All I am is a child of the Most High. I'm the child of the light. I'm a light being, and that's what I want to be. That's what I believe. And everything that I believe in that light is His life, His love, and light, love, and something else. I forgot. It don't matter. Anyway, I'm in Jesus. He's in me. And that's all I care about. So, do I expect all these other things to be in perfect harmony? Absolutely. Everything I put my hands to prospers, has prospered. Absolutely. Now, I believe that. And I don't have to do anything to get it to be done, because it's there. And if I walk in that, then it's mine. It has to be. It's God's Word. Do you believe it? Amen. Hallelujah. Let's see. But be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Now, why do you have to renew the mind? Where is the mind? What is the mind? What part of us is our mind? Does anybody know? Our mind is connected to our soul. Our soul is a carnal creature. Your mind, your intellect, who you think you are, that part goes with the spirit. But today, because we're in this body, it belongs to our soul. But that's why Paul said what? Through the 2/3 of the New Testament. What's Paul always preaching? Renew your mind. He's telling it right here to the Romans. So this is a letter to the people that were living in Rome, which was one of the largest places there were in the free world. What are you saying? Renew your mind. Why? Because who are you? I'm a child of the Most High God. I am righteous. I look in the mirror, I don't see me, I see God. That's how God sees me. All my sins are taken care of. Even though I'm going to sin tomorrow, it's already been taken care of. And if I choose not to let that sin follow me because I'm a child, it won't happen. That decision I made from lack or fear, that's where the sin came from. Because God cannot be in fear. There is no place for God in fear. Fear is the absence of God. Because God said what? It's all yours. Believe. That by testing you may discern what is the will of God. And testing is living in this world. We're all going to be tested. All that means is, do you believe the world or do you believe God? That's the testing. That's the test. And God said, hey, Paul, choose me. Hey, counselor, choose me. Hey, Pilate, choose me. Hey, you guys over there in the corner. This is who I want you to choose. This is the answer to the test. Choose me. I'm eternal. So are you. That's what he's saying. He's yelling it. Every atom that God spoke into existence when God said light be, and everything's made out of atoms. There's nothing that's not made out of an atom in this world or this universe or the universes that are outside of this universe. Everything is made out of atoms. Air is atoms. Everything is carbon based. So we have control over what? All the atoms, except for an individual. We don't have authority over a person. Although we can live the life of God now, and that person sees that life and is going to say, how are you doing that, Paul? I want to know. And then you get to share your relationship with the Father. We can do that. That's how Jesus did it. How many people did Jesus get born again when he walked this earth for 33 years?
Zero.
Zero. Look it up. He didn't get anybody born again. Because that's not what he was here to do. He was here to be an example for the people to say, man, I want that. That's why all those people were flocking to him. Because of why? Healing. And that woman had the issue of blood for 12 years, and all the physicians drained all of her money. And it was a stoning offense to be in public with a problem with your blood. And that woman said, all I got to do is touch that prayer knot at the end of his shawl and I'll be healed. We think that's wonderful. That is taught from every pulpit that's ever been in any church around the world. And that woman did what? She limited herself to being able to touch his garment to receive her healing. That's crazy. Why would you do that? Why would you have to have a hoop to jump through?
No hoops.
Because it was a cult practiced during her time. That was a teaching. That's where it came from. What did the centurion say to him when his servant boy was sick? What did he say? Come over?
Just say the word.
And what would happen?
You'll be healed.
He was healed before he spoke the word, because God already knew he was going to speak it. But yes, he had to say it that way in the Bible, because he was talking to a lot of people that weren't born again yet. So yeah, he had to say that. There had to be an action for a reaction. So he already understood that there's no time and space. All you had to do was hear the command and it was done, because he was control over people. He was an officer in the centurion guard. So he understood the authority in the spoken word. But it was all flesh. It didn't matter. But he understood that in the flesh. And so he believed it. What did it make it? Truth. So can you get truth out of the flesh? Absolutely. Here's a proof. But if that truth doesn't line up with the Word of God, which it did in his case, then it's a fact, and it won't always work. Because it's subject to you. What do you believe? Well, you know, I got lack. So sometimes God's on time, sometimes he's not. Who created that? You. Just like that lady. I had to touch that garment, or I would have got my healing. And she defied the sentence of death, to being stoned, to go do that. Because that's how much she believed. You guys have that same authority and power. And she wasn't born again. But she got it anyway. And she wasn't born again. She didn't understand. Hallelujah. Well, we got like 3 minutes, so if I get into another ditty, I'll keep going. So I better shut her down. Got any questions?